Most men navigating the modern dating landscape know the word simp, but far fewer realize they might be committing an even more damaging relational error without ever realizing it. There is a massive, pervasive cultural narrative that tells men that showing extreme devotion, dropping their hobbies, and shifting their entire universe around a woman is the golden ticket to winning her heart. You see it in Hollywood romantic comedies, you read it in fiction, and you hear it in pop music. But in the real world of social dynamics and behavioral psychology, this approach consistently yields the exact opposite result. Dropping everything for a woman isn't automatically a mistake, but it is a razor-thin tightrope. The exact same physical action, whether it's paying for a meal, fixing a broken appliance, or offering a heartfelt compliment, can either win her deep, lasting respect or completely tank her attraction to you. The profound truth that most men miss is that attraction has less to do with the tangible action you performed and everything to do with the underlying psychological motive running beneath it. Women possess an incredibly sharp, intuitive radar for male intent. They can sense the energetic weight of a gesture instantly, even if they can't quite articulate the exact words for it. To successfully protect your time, your energy, and your dignity, you must understand the three distinct masculine archetypes driving behavior in modern relationships: the simp, the fake nice guy, and the attractive, genuine man. The simp operates almost entirely from a foundational core of scarcity and deep-seated unworthiness. When he interacts with a woman he finds attractive, his subconscious mindset tells him that his inherent value as a human being is not enough to keep her interested. Because he feels he has nothing fundamental to offer just by being himself, he resorts to overgiving. He uses material generosity, constant praise, and immediate compliance as a form of social currency, desperately hoping that if he buys enough tokens, he will eventually be granted access to her affection, intimacy, or validation. He gives endlessly, not because his own cup is overflowing and he genuinely wants to share the abundance, but because he is trying to fill a hollow space inside himself. He ignores his own boundaries, overextends his finances, and compromises his schedule, running himself into the ground while placing the woman on an unstable, suffocating pedestal. The fake nice guy looks absolutely identical to the simp from the outside, but underneath the surface, his psychological machinery is far more calculated and dangerous. The fake nice guy doesn't just give out of low self-esteem, he gives out of a desire for control through what psychologists call covert contracts. He approaches dating like a vending machine. He inserts a compliment, a favor, or a dinner, and firmly expects a specific romantic or physical outcome to drop out of the slot. The critical issue is that the woman has never read, let alone signed, the terms of this silent agreement. He keeps a meticulous, invisible scoreboard in his head. If the woman doesn't deliver the validation or physical intimacy he believes he has earned, his behavior shifts dramatically. While a simp will keep giving indefinitely despite being ignored, the fake nice guy turns bitter, passive-aggressive, or outright punitive. He punishes her either silently through withdrawal or out loud through explosive resentment, exposing that his kindness was never kindness at all. It was a transactional business strategy. In stark contrast to both of these manipulative dynamics stands the attractive, genuine man. This archetype operates from an internal foundation of abundance, emotional stability, and uncompromising self-respect. When he extends kindness, offers a compliment, or helps a woman solve a problem, his actions are completely decoupled from a hidden agenda. He gives freely simply because he is a capable, secure man who enjoys being generous and treating people well. He has absolutely no invisible scoreboard. He does not issue emotional invoices, and he does not require her validation to feel whole. Because his self-worth is entirely self-generated, he can hold firm boundaries without fear of rejection. If a woman rejects his gesture or chooses not to move forward with him, his reality remains completely unshaken. He wishes her well and moves on. This lack of desperation is precisely what makes him highly magnetic. Let's look at exactly how these three archetypes play out across the most common real-world dating scenarios. Compliments are one of the fastest ways to build connection, but they are also the most frequent trap where men accidentally reveal their hand. The simp handles compliments by gushing with effusive, over-the-top praise before the woman has even opened her mouth to speak. He will see a girl on a first date or walk up to someone at a social gathering and immediately launch into a monologue about how stunning her hair is, how perfect her outfit looks, and how she is the most beautiful woman in the room. This aggressive level of praise feels deeply uncomfortable to a woman because it isn't actually about her at all. She recognizes instantly that he doesn't even know her yet. Therefore, the compliment is merely an anxious performance designed to force a positive reaction and make a massive initial impression. It places immense pressure on her to mirror that intensity, which naturally causes her to take a step back. The fake nice guy uses compliments as an intentional opening move in his transactional strategy. He delivers a seemingly polite standard compliment, such as telling her she looks great tonight. The woman will smile and offer a polite thank you, which is the standard social response. However, inside the fake nice guy's mind, that thank you is not enough to balance the ledger. He has clocked that compliment as a substantial credit, and he expects it to be paid back with intense flirtation, deep physical proximity, or immediate validation of his own appearance. When that expected return fails to materialize over the next few minutes, a subtle but distinct shift occurs. A cold, expectant flicker passes behind his eyes, or his tone becomes slightly sharp. Even if he tries to hide it, the woman acutely registers the sudden shift from warmth to calculation, and her psychological defense mechanisms immediately signal that this man is unsafe or disingenuous. The attractive man approaches praise from an entirely different mental framework. When he tells a woman she looks exceptionally beautiful, it isn't a strategic maneuver or an anxious reflex. It is a genuine, passing observation. He notices something he truly appreciates, voices it cleanly and confidently with direct eye contact, and then completely lets it go. When she smiles and thanks him, he doesn't stare at her waiting for a reciprocal compliment, nor does he write it down in an internal ledger. He simply absorbs her gratitude and continues the conversation naturally. His words are structured as a pure gift, and true gifts never come with an attached invoice. Because the woman feels absolutely no emotional weight or hidden obligation tied to his words, she can fully enjoy the compliment. This lack of pressure creates a massive sense of emotional comfort, which paradoxically makes her want to lean in closer, engage more deeply, and earn more of his focused attention. The act of taking a woman out to dinner has been a staple of courtship for generations, yet it remains an absolute minefield for male insecurity. When the simp plans a date, he frequently makes the critical error of booking a reservation at an incredibly expensive, high-end restaurant that sits completely outside his actual financial comfort zone. He does this because he believes that the size of his financial display will compensate for his perceived lack of personal value. Throughout the entire meal, he is internally stressed about the final cost. Yet the moment the check arrives, he aggressively snatches it before it can even touch the table surface, insisting on paying with an anxious wave of his hand. He spends the entire drive home completely consumed by mental gymnastics, obsessively agonizing over whether the expensive dinner was enough to make her like him, and desperately hoping she will agree to a second date, just so his financial sacrifice wasn't in vain. The fake nice guy views the dinner check as a binding legal document for a covert contract. He pays for the meal without a hitch, and to the casual observer, he looks like a perfect gentleman. But inside his mind, a cold mathematical calculation has occurred. I have invested X amount of money into this evening, therefore I am legally entitled to Y amount of her time, physical affection, or access to her apartment at the end of the night. He uses his financial contribution as an emotional leverage tool. If the date ends at her Uber ride with a warm hug and a sincere goodnight, the fake nice guy's internal narrative immediately shifts to anger. He will smile outwardly to maintain his nice guy mask, but inside he is deeply resentful, telling himself that he was used or that she led him on, entirely because he views the date as a raw business transaction that failed to yield a profit. The attractive man handles the entire dining experience with an aura of calm, unbothered leadership. He selects a restaurant that aligns perfectly with his own lifestyle, his personal taste, and his current budget. He chooses the venue because he genuinely appreciates good food, desires a great atmosphere, and wants to enjoy an engaging conversation with her. When the bill arrives, he handles it smoothly and without any dramatic fanfare or grand gestures. If the woman politely offers to split the cost, he looks at her with a calm smile and says, "Don't worry about it. I've got it this time." That phrase, "this time," is a subtle but incredibly powerful boundary. It signals that while he is incredibly happy to lead and take care of the evening, he is not establishing a permanent pattern of one-sided financial exploitation. The entire experience feels light, easy, and entirely free of underlying tension because he is not keeping score, allowing both of them to just be present. Time is a far more valuable asset than money, which is why the way a man manages favors reveals the absolute truth of his character. The simp treats a woman's minor, casual inconveniences as an immediate emergency call. If she mentions offhandedly in conversation that an online order arrived unassembled and has been sitting in her living room for 3 weeks, the simp will immediately interrupt her to volunteer his services. She didn't ask for his help, but he insists on coming over. He shows up with his own tool set, spends hours sweating over the project, and completely refuses to let her assist or even pour him a glass of water. Once the task is finished, he doesn't simply leave. He awkwardly lingers around her apartment, waiting for a romantic opening that he thinks his manual labor has earned him, creating an intense atmosphere of social awkwardness. The fake nice guy takes this dynamic to an extreme level by volunteering for major, high-effort logistical tasks. He will volunteer to help her move heavy furniture across the city, spend an entire weekend diagnosing her crashing laptop, or drive her to the airport at 5 a.m. in heavy traffic. He brands himself as the most reliable, supportive friend a woman could ever ask for. However, every single hour of labor he puts in is meticulously logged into a mental tracking account. He views these favors as a mounting stack of chips that he will eventually cash in for a romantic relationship. The tragedy of this dynamic is that the woman simply thinks she has an incredibly helpful, platonic friend who loves to support her. The moment she casually mentions that she has started dating a new guy, the fake nice guy's mask slips entirely. He becomes absolutely livid, throwing a tantrum or completely cutting her off while screaming, "After everything I did for you." He fails to see that she never signed up for his terms because he kept them hidden. The attractive man handles requests for his time with absolute clarity and healthy boundaries. If a woman asks him for a favor, he doesn't automatically jump at the chance just to please her, nor does he say yes out of fear of losing her interest. He looks at his own schedule, evaluates his personal energy levels, and considers the nature of the request. If he has the capacity and genuinely wants to help her out, he says yes, shows up completely, does an excellent job, and brings an attitude of genuine warmth. He does it because he wants to be helpful, period. There is no invoice attached, and he doesn't look at her differently afterward. Conversely, if the favor conflicts with his prior commitments, his work, or his personal boundaries, he has the masculine strength to calmly say, "I can't make that work this weekend, but I can point you toward a great service or help you look at it next Tuesday." Because he treats his own time with immense respect, she respects it too. Agreement is one of the subtlest and most insidious ways that insecure men completely destroy their own attraction. The simp treats a woman's opinions as absolute law. If they are sitting at a lounge discussing a topic, whether it's music, politics, career choices, or life philosophies, and she expresses a view that directly contradicts his deepest personal beliefs, the simp will instantly fold. He will nervously nod his head, smile, and say, "Yeah, absolutely, I totally agree with that." If he can't bring himself to outright lie, he will remain completely silent or subtly maneuver the conversation to a safer topic. He operates under the profound delusion that if he becomes a perfect mirror of her thoughts, she will like him more. He is completely terrified of the slight tension that comes with a disagreement, failing to realize that by erasing his own perspective, he makes himself completely uninteresting. The fake nice guy uses agreement as a social chameleon strategy. He actively studies a woman's preferences, social media profiles, and verbal cues, to figure out exactly what her worldview is. He then adopts that exact worldview as a calculated costume to get close to her. He will passionately agree with her stances on career ambition, lifestyle choices, and relationship dynamics, playing the role of the perfect, enlightened companion. He uses this profound agreement to escalate the relationship, attempting to guide her closer to intimacy. However, when his forced agreement fails to immediately transition the relationship into romance, his true nature emerges. He becomes intensely grumpy, cynical, or passive-aggressive during conversations. The woman can easily feel the heavy weight of his calculation, even if she can't perfectly point to the cause, and the underlying creepiness of his manufactured personality causes her to pull away entirely. The attractive man understands that a real connection requires two distinct individuals with two distinct minds. He listens to her perspectives with genuine curiosity, deep focus, and active engagement. He wants to know how she thinks and why she holds her beliefs. However, when she expresses a view that differs from his own, he doesn't compromise his integrity to make her comfortable. He holds his ground with complete confidence and says smoothly, "You know what? I actually see that completely differently." He explains his reasoning without becoming defensive, angry, or combative. If she presents an incredibly logical, well-thought-out counterargument, he has the security to say, "That's a really solid point. I hadn't looked at it that way before." He values truth over compliance. A man who refuses to be a mindless yes machine is a man who possesses an unshakable identity, and that identity is precisely what keeps a woman intensely intrigued and deeply respectful of his character. When a woman is going through an intense, highly emotional crisis, a man's default instinct is almost always to jump into action. However, the way a man enters that arena dictates exactly how he is perceived. The simp reacts to a woman's stress with immense personal anxiety. The moment she starts venting about a difficult coworker, a family dispute, or a stressful project, the simp's internal panic button is triggered. He hates seeing her uncomfortable because her emotional state completely dictates his own internal peace. Without asking a single question or understanding the broader context, he immediately leaps into an aggressive, uninvited fix-it mode. He starts barking out solutions, making phone calls on her behalf, or taking over her tasks. He does this because his self-worth is entirely tied to being useful. He isn't actually solving her problem to help her. He is solving it to quiet his own internal anxiety and force her back into a state where she validates him. The fake nice guy approaches her problems as a massive opportunity to secure a high-value debt. He will step into a chaotic situation, such as a legal dispute, a financial emergency, or a major career transition, and use his resources to completely sort it out for her. On the surface, this is an incredibly heroic and supportive gesture, but the trap snaps shut the moment the crisis ends. Once the dust settles, the fake nice guy retroactively converts his support into a heavy emotional loan. He will bring it up during subsequent disagreements or use it as leverage to guilt her into compliance, using toxic phrases like, "After I completely handled that nightmare situation for you, this is how you treat me?" The woman suddenly realizes that she didn't receive a compassionate helping hand. She took out a high-interest emotional loan that she never wanted, completely poisoning the relationship. The attractive man handles a woman's crisis by bringing a grounded, calming masculine presence to the storm. When she comes to him stressed or overwhelmed, he doesn't panic and he doesn't assume he needs to be the hero. He creates a safe space, looks her in the eye, and asks a brilliant, anchoring question. "Do you just want me to listen so you can vent? Or do you want me to help you brainstorm a solution to fix this?" This single question shows immense emotional intelligence and profound respect for her autonomy. He listens closely to her answer. If she just needs to vent, he holds the space securely without offering uninvited advice. If she asks for his help, he applies his mind fully to assist her, acting as a true teammate. Because he doesn't need to be needed to feel secure in himself, his help is experienced as a genuine sanctuary, which allows her to feel completely safe and deeply taken care of in his presence. The idea that a man must always be available is a destructive relationship myth, and how he responds to a last-minute invite reveals his true character. The simp immediately abandons prior commitments, like a standing night out with friends, for a casual text from a woman, mistaken this lack of boundaries for romantic devotion. Psychologically, this backfires because she views his sudden drop in self-respect as unstable and unsafe, which instantly kills her attraction. The fake nice guy also cancels his plans but weaponizes the choice as self-imposed martyrdom, dropping subtle guilt trips and demanding validation or intimacy to pay off the debt of his sacrifice before leaving in a bitter huff if it doesn't pay out. In contrast, the attractive man prioritizes his long-term integrity over short-term gratification, smoothly holding his boundaries by warmly but firmly declining the last-minute invite to honor his original plans unless it is a genuine life-or-death emergency. While she might feel a flash of immediate disappointment from the rejection, his consistency builds a massive bedrock of long-term respect and attraction, proving he is a solid, reliable partner with a purposeful life. The final and most deeply misunderstood arena of romantic dynamics is the way a man communicates his raw attraction and desire for a woman. The simp expresses his desire prematurely, constantly, and from a position of absolute supplication. He will bombard her phone with daily text messages saying, "I can't stop thinking about you. You have completely ruined me. I want you so much. You are literally perfect." He pours out this intense emotional declaration before the woman has even given him a single real reason to feel that level of certainty. When a man expresses overwhelming, unearned desire to a woman who hasn't actively invested in the relationship yet, it doesn't feel romantic. It feels deeply suffocating and incredibly low value. It tells her that he is entirely sold on a fantasy version of her, exposing his intense desperation and immediately causing her to lose interest. The fake nice guy deploys his expressions of desire like a highly calculated weapon. He doesn't say he wants her because he is overwhelmed by genuine emotion. He says it at highly strategic, rehearsed moments when he believes it will move the relationship forward or unlock physical intimacy. He delivers lines that sound like they were lifted directly from a generic dating manual or a romantic script. The woman can easily sense the hollow, performative nature of his words. It feels creepy because his compliments and expressions of desire are clearly designed to achieve a specific physical result rather than communicate an honest, spontaneous human emotion. His words feel like a manipulation tactic, causing her to instantly pull back and close off. The attractive man treats his desire as a powerful, grounded truth that requires absolutely no performance, no games, and no hidden strategy. He never leads with it prematurely to chase her, and he never weaponizes it to get what he wants. But when the genuine moment calls for it and the connection is real, he speaks his mind with complete clarity and absolute fearlessness. He can look at her across a candlelit table, hold her gaze with unwavering eye contact, and say simply and calmly, "I really like you." Or later, when the chemistry is completely aligned, he can state with grounded masculine confidence, "I want you," without adding any complex speeches, anxious justifications, or performative energy. He knows exactly who he is, he knows exactly what he wants, and he is entirely unafraid to state his intentions cleanly to the world. This expression of desire is incredibly magnetic because it is rooted in absolute truth, deep confidence, and self-assured vulnerability. It is a bold invitation for her to step into his world, completely free of manipulation or desperate neediness. At the end of the day, modern dating success is not about memorizing a flawless list of rules or running around trying to perfectly micromanage your behavior. It is about fundamentally auditing the deep internal alignment of your intent. The core of this alignment comes down to which archetype is driving your actions. When a man operates as the simp, driven entirely by scarcity, validation seeking, and inherent unworthiness, he will immediately collapse his boundaries to maintain compliance, an anxious habit that completely destroys respect and kills romantic attraction. If he shifts into the fake nice guy, his motives devolve into covert transactions, scoreboard tracking, and a desire for control. The moment his hidden terms are challenged, he becomes bitter, passive-aggressive, or vindictive, which ultimately creates a chilling feeling of unsafety and profound creepiness. True magnetism only belongs to the attractive man, who stands firmly in a foundation of abundance, self-respect, and clean integrity. Because he holds firm boundaries with immense warmth and zero apology, his presence builds massive long-term respect and an undeniable magnetic attraction. The exact same outward actions can be experienced as a pathetic, low-value bribe or an incredibly high-value, highly attractive gesture, depending entirely on these internal dynamics. When you choose to step away from scarcity, completely throw away the invisible internal scoreboards, and begin operating from a permanent foundation of unshakable self-respect, your generosity ceases to be a trap and finally becomes a genuine gift. However, even the most self-assured, high-value men must remain incredibly vigilant. It is highly possible to get caught flat-footed by sophisticated manipulation if you do not know the specific warning signs to look out for. To ensure that your genuine kindness and authentic generosity are never weaponized against you by toxic individuals, pay close attention to the specific behavioral indicators of female manipulation and learn to spot the 9 sweet lies that calculated manipulators use to exploit well-meaning men.